My name is Gabrielle Browne. I was the victim of a serious sexual assault back in 2003 and experienced a double abuse by the criminal justice system. There were errors made by the police, the Crown Prosecution Service, the Forensic Science Service, delays in getting the case to trial. Post-trial, there were issues with probation and with the Home Office. Restorative justice gives victims the opportunity, not given by a standard criminal justice process, to ask the offender those questions that haunt them and continue to cause the trauma. It is an opportunity for a victim to ask any and every question about the offence, about the trauma, to explain the harm done, and it can not only allow the victim to engage with their life again, but also the impact of having the victim explain the devastation of what's happened to them can have a very profound effect on the offender too. The best way to describe what I went through was an absolute double abuse. I couldn't tell you today whether it was the trauma of somebody trying to rape me that has caused me the most long-term harm, or actually the fact that criminal justice professionals didn't carry out their tasks, their day-to-day tasks as they should have done, which caused major problems in the handling of the case and the dealing effectively with my offender. It is absolutely right that those that have been most harmed have a big say in what's going on, because all too often victims are left traumatised not only by the event that's happened to them, but also by the process, because in a traditional court setting you have no consideration, you have no legal representation, you're there to give your evidence. And I've quite often described the way I was treated was I was treated no better than a piece of evidence that's in a sealed evidence bag passed before the court. I think that if a victim is kept informed and updated proactively, it positively helps the victim to feel valued once again, because one of the most devastating things, especially of a crime of a serious sexual nature, is you feel like your soul has been ripped apart. You don't feel complete as a human being. And when the criminal justice authorities treat you with absolutely no respect, don't let you know when there's a court hearing, don't update you on any process that might be going on, it just means that as a victim you withdraw further into yourself and you're less able to take an active part in all aspects of your life. So being treated with respect, considered as a human being, valued for your opinion, being listened to, are all very key aspects of ensuring that the victim recovers as quickly as is possible and as far as possible after a traumatic event. I would say from my experience that with them being codified in law, in the Victims Directive, it places a direct legal responsibility on member states to put victims at the heart of their criminal justice systems. Any trauma that has occurred affects all parties involved, whether you are the perpetrator or you are the victim. What is important, as far as possible, is that that trauma and that damage is repaired at the end of it. So, with victims being properly considered, written into law, in terms of how they are to be treated, will build confidence in the criminal justice system, and society will be stronger for it. By the victim being in control as to whether a restorative justice process continues or not, it absolutely gives the power and the control back to the victim, and in a situation where the victim felt totally powerless and out of control while the offence was happening. So it rebalances, if you like, the justice process. It's the perfect solution, because a victim who feels powerless and overcome by the actions of the offender is suddenly put back in control, and by being in control they can more effectively communicate to the offender the devastation of what's occurred to them and the impact. And if the offender has fully faced up to his or her offending, it can have a transforming effect on the offender too. I'm not sure I have questions as such, but I would say to them, contrary to what you may have been used to up to this date, absolutely consider the impact and the trauma that's been caused to the victim. Try not to be totally offender focused, and to just show as much consideration and understanding to all parties.